What's up, friends? Let's take a look at the visual updates coming to Star Citizen next month, and get an idea of the new location types that you'll be able to visit. While many things are being worked on and could possibly be implemented in the next few weeks, this is just what I can confirm is coming. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. If there's one thing that Star Citizen has done well, it's the macro visuals. Sometimes details can be underwhelming, but the big ticket items tend to stand out in their own categories. And while some say the game is outdated, well, the visual improvements continue to be fruitful. The first change that will continue this system coming next month is the polish pass of the first star system in the game, Stanton. This change is something that has been ongoing ever since the initial version of the Planetary Creator was released last year. This is a refining of the height maps across the moons and planets, generating a more diverse and interesting geology on planetary bodies, which actually affects the temperature and humidity readings at specific places. This is a repainting of all of the planets, allowing biomes to transition naturally based on latitude, longitude, and elevation. This change also adds new textures and shaders to specific areas, as well as better terrain detail scattering so you aren't seeing the same rocks or patterns clustered around each other. Now, if only we could just decrease the amount of rocks in general. Originally started in November, this polish pass is a touch-up on all existing assets to apply improvements finalized since Planetech V4 was completed in Alpha 3.11 last year, and will continue to build on the increased variety we see in the planets and moons that we visit by also introducing changes meant specifically to vary moons from one another, such as Yela and Lyria. Refinery Decks, another recently added feature to the game, are actually a symbol of the reintroduction of more professions. And just like with many of the locations that are brought into game, these refinery decks are seeing an incremental improvement just one patch later. Though small, these improvements are meant to apply a new style guide to the space stations which house refinery decks. It's not big or even important in my opinion, but the added variety to the specific stations where more work is being done is pretty cool. Commercial assets will be removed and moodier light will scream business and industry. I personally think this is a rather pointless addition right now, but it's here, and you can expect it in the next few weeks. Ship Wear and Tear, a small but quite impactful addition to the game. It's something that's been in the works in different ways for some time now. In fact, it's been so in our faces that many are quite sick of it. This is because each ship is built with different states that could be triggered by the devs. It's always been a bit unclear if this was done by a person or a bug, but maximum wear has often been applied to even brand new ships.
And the intention is that in the future, when you use a ship over time, that slider will be programmatically moved in engine in order to sort of simulate that you've been using this ship for a long time, and so it's getting dirtier and dirtier, and you should be able to go clean that up and then bring it all the way back down. That way you have a cleaner ship. Now there are some...
This new change is what many hope will allow us to escape that fiery, dirty destiny. This feature will allow ships to accrue a certain amount of dirtiness and grime based on where that ship has been spending its time. This also applies to age marks such as faded paint. This isn't the full implementation of the feature, as effects will not be entirely dynamic yet, but this should add to the variety and unique nature of each ship, and act as a preview of more to come later in the year. There's also one line in the February monthly report that makes me think this may not actually apply to every ship in the game at this stage, but we'll have to wait a couple weeks more and find out for ourselves. Most likely the biggest deal addition on this list are the new cave entrances being introduced to planets and moons across the game. These new entrances will go a step beyond the already existent caves in the game. They will allow players to land their ships or drive their vehicles into caves in order to more easily mine deposits or gain access to otherwise unattainable locations. These caves have been planned and in development for some time now, about 2 years actually. They will likely add a nice dose of fun to exploration, more variety for mining, and the possibility of some player-run events along with, and this is only confirmed in the Evocati patch notes so far, new missions that involve groundside NPCs to fight against. Something also worth noticing, every single description and mention of these caves by CIG has specifically stated that it is only updating cave entrances. Now who knows what this means exactly, but I'm of the belief that only the first several hundred meters of explorable terrain will be different before the cave forces you to depart and traverse the area in the same way on foot as all the other times you've done it. If this is the case, it'll be a bit disappointing, but it seems this is something we may want to expect. I hope I'm wrong, but just like the lack of different diverse cave types that we've been hoping for in the last couple of years, I think this points towards a realization that larger changes to these locations are still a ways off. Asteroids. These little whippersnappers are not very important, to be honest. They aren't often thought about by anybody other than the miners, and they don't offer much to the game other than atmosphere. But what if they could be more? What if they hid valuable treasures, hiding spots, and pirate bases? Well, I don't think they will after this update. But they will be adding new dimensions to gas clouds and other areas in the game. These new asteroids are expected to create a lighter load for the game while improving the visuals of the areas they reside in. Gas clouds should have more asteroids found inside of them depending on their type, whether those gas clouds be an asteroid field type or a mining type. And these additions will act as a testing bed for the more intensive workflow needed to create the scary jagged rocks of the upcoming Pyro system. The size variation in these asteroids appear to be more diverse in this update, and while there are no caves inside of them, there are large cracks, nooks, and crannies for you to hide in. We will have to wait a bit longer to see if these new asteroids actually look any different, but I'm excited for the possibility of them bouncing around and breaking against the hull of our ship as we plow through them, which is indeed a confirmed feature coming soon. Now, I know this isn't entirely visual, but it does have some visual impact in the game, and I thought you may want to know about it. The new shield technology, which has been in development for literally years, is still not going to be in-game until the summer, supposedly. But the visual representation of them will be in-game for us to see in just a few weeks. This means, in the same way that atmospheric re-entry effects work, we will be able to see how shields wrap around each ship in their own unique ways. In addition to this form-fitting nature, these shields will also flare up in a much more interesting manner to show their state based on damage taken, functionality, and how close they are to popping. On smaller ships this may not mean much, but with the larger capital class ships and even just medium to large ships, this will be a fantastic tool to help players understand how much damage a certain part of the shield has taken and where to concentrate fire. Granted, the specific ability to see where damage is being applied may be something we don't see until that true implementation I mentioned later in this summer. But this basic improvement will be a nice new visual cue added to the game. Another thing that was briefly mentioned in the January monthly report was that the graphics team has gotten around to remedying a few major bugs and issues that have been plaguing the game for some time but were just barely missed for the December release deadline. 3.13 at its core is a very quality of life patch, in my opinion, much like 3.11 was last year. Because of that, not even the visual improvements inspire much to talk about, and while there's a lot going on in the company right now, this first quarter still remains rather dry in terms of tangible things to talk about. What I hope is that this allows the game to make another solid step in stability, taking care of a couple of the more frustrating bugs we're currently experiencing and stabilizing the game for the upcoming events we're expecting to see in May, and the rather large update we could be seeing in July. If you'd like to see what the game has to offer as it progresses through these periods, feel free to subscribe to the channel, and come back for more as I keep you up to date on the monthly, weekly, and quarterly ongoings of Star Citizen. And hop over to my Twitch channel where I'm streaming right now and chat with me about the game. Thanks again for checking out this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.